Okay, here we go. Larry Fort Worth Memories Museum and groups. Let me see if I'm live. Okay, I'm live there. I'll see if I can. It's about a 4-second delay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sharing it to the internet. I'm sharing it to Memories Live Videos Unsolved. And I'm going to share it to Missing Fort Worth Trio. So, admin of Missing Fort Worth Trio, you'll need to add that. And Rusty said that he's blocked on something, but he's not. It doesn't show any results for Rusty. But it's on Missing. So anyway, I'm a little bit early. Rusty's already called in. He's on the way. The admin for Missing Fort Worth Trio, y'all need to approve the live video that is now streaming on Missing Fort Worth Trio. Let me find that. But if it's not on Missing Fort Worth Trio, it's because the admin has not approved it yet. So I'm trying to go on to Missing. If I can find it. Groups you've joined. I don't know why it says that. We didn't find anything. Hell, there it is. Okay. Admin of Missing Fort Worth Trio. I've shared the link. Y'all need to, the admin needs to approve it. So as soon as Rusty gets here, Deborah Bruce, please accept that. Let me see if I can get Deborah. I'm going to try to get her to add the live feed, which it's now on. I'm going to make sure it's on all of my groups. There's Memories. I'm live on Memories. I'm telling Deborah. Okay, she said she shared it. Okay, so Deborah, you can see me now. So we're on YouTube at Fort Worth Memories. We're on Fort Worth Memories. We're on Missing Fort Worth Trio. We're on, let me check Fort Worth Unsolved. We're on Fort Worth Unsolved. Deborah's added us to Fort Worth, Missing Fort Worth Trio. So we're on all of the channels. Shut that door, brother. And you're going to sit right here. Okay, Rusty is in the house. Deborah, Missing Trios isn't blocked either. We're on it right now. So,
Are we live?
yeah, it's on live. I started a little bit early. So, I'm gonna. It's on your group right now. It's on everywhere. There it is on everything.
Just for me?
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start this. We can turn that sound down. We are gonna start 5 minutes early. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good. So you sit right here, and I'm gonna put the camera on you.
Not yet.
Well, I'll put the camera on me. So Deborah is not going to join us on the phone or anything.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, when you get ready to go, okay, so y'all, everybody that's listening, you can ask questions. Rusty will be able to see them at the bottom of the screen, I believe. And
Okay, I'm here.
okay, let me get. Now it's to you. Your head's cut off. Here, add this book. Hold on. I don't know why I didn't do that originally. Is that better?
Still my head's cut off.
Wonder why that is. If I go to that shot, yeah, that's you're on that shot. So if we move that up, let's see what that does. There we got you. Okay, I'm gonna somebody write a comment so we can see if.
Is there a time delay here?
Yeah, there's always a time delay because we're on the YouTube channel. That's where we're broadcasting everything from. Okay, so okay, Rusty's on there. I'm gonna write good morning, everyone. See if that'll come up on your screen. Is that it? Yeah, but it's not going to be I don't know how we'll do that. I'll tell you the questions they ask.
You'll have to read them to me because I
Yeah.
can't see that.
Okay. All right. So this is part 2 of the anniversary of the 50th year since Rusty's sister and Rachel, Renee, and Julie went missing. And so what I've done this time, I've got some specific questions that I'm going to ask because some of this, I'd never really researched it in years. So I'm going to kind of go over it. So from what I've found, the families went to the mall about 6 o'clock in the evening. on July 23rd.
Yeah, when they didn't show up for the
Right,
party.
when
yeah.
they didn't show up.
They were supposed to be at a party at 4 o'clock, and they didn't show, and they were
And
just
so
gone.
then Fort Worth Police goes out there. Do you know, was there any detectives at that first?
No.
No, just
No.
the Fort Worth PD.
That night, after the mall closed, if I remember correctly, they wouldn't come out there until later that night.
Well, their account, and I got it straight from the Fort Worth Police Department's deal, they said that they had officers out there that evening and talked to employees of the mall.
After the mall closed.
Oh, okay. After the mall closed. So originally, now this is from the Fort Worth Police Department, after the original investigation, which I assume a week or so, it was then handed to the Youth Division of the Fort Worth PD Missing Persons Bureau.
They treated them as runaways.
Yeah, that's Youth Division. That's what that was. And then it got reassigned in January of 2001. The case was reopened and assigned to the homicide detective, Tom Bocher.
That's correct.
Okay, my question.
Best detective that ever touched this case.
Why did they, from 1974 to 2001, what made them take it off of the missing persons or the runaways and hand it to a homicide detective? There had to be something that...
Our actions, we raised hell.
But you're talking about 27 years.
Yeah. Yeah, for the first year they treated them as runaways. And then finally we hired a private investigator, John Swaim.
Right, I've got that. That was in August of 75.
That's correct. And he got it put in major cases. But they never really pursued. The only detective that ever really pursued this was Tom Bocher. And he was a tiger, man. That guy was the best detective Fort Worth Police Department's ever had. And I've got a lot of experience with that. But
Okay, so he stated that the girls were seen with one or more males, but he could never tie that to any facts.
the girls were supposedly seen with a guy called Vernon Beatty in the mall. A friend of Terry Mosley's. Terry Mosley is the brother to Julie Mosley, the girl that disappeared.
Right.
That was never 100% confirmed. It was only hearsay, but we could never prove it. But they said it was said that they were seen with Vernon Beatty, at least somebody fitting his description, in the mall the day of the disappearance.
Okay. There's another. Detective Swaim
Private
investigator Swaim said that he talked to a 28-year-old male where he worked at a place where Rachel had applied for a job. Do you know about this?
Would that be Sears in the mall?
I don't know. He just said it was a 28-year-old male that handled the applications. So 6 other female job applicants had gotten obscene phone calls. And he had met Rachel. She had applied at the same store. It doesn't say on the police blotter what the store was.
Actually, Larry, honestly, this is the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, well, it's on, if you look it up on Fort Worth PD, the 3 missing girls. So, private investigator Swaim narrowed it down. It was a 28-year-old male. I'm sure he was not the person that says you got a job or not, but maybe he handled the applications. And there was 6. Rachel never complained that, well, she was gone, but there were 6 other females that were job applicants that this guy had called and made sexual overtures to them.
This is the first I've heard of this.
Okay. Then Swaim, another thing that's a question for me. I'm going to ask these series of questions, then you can go into your deliberation on them. He also took 100 volunteers, or either got them there at
The same guy.
Port Lavaca. No, this is Swaim. He got a lead that there was some bodies found at Port Lavaca. Were those 100 volunteers from here, or did he get them down there?
Well, that was 49 years ago when I was 12 years old. I don't remember this.
Okay. But that turned up not to be.
Yeah, it turned up nothing. Yeah, I remember the Port Lavaca search, but I don't. It didn't ever.
Nothing
fruitful ever came from it.
Okay, in March of '76, a psychic either contacted the police or something, or y'all, and said the bodies could be found near an oil well, and a search then went to Rising Star, Texas.
First off, I got to say, if a psychic says it, I don't believe it.
Right, I understand, but they did perform a search at Rising Star, Texas, wherever.
I'm unaware of that search, and I was too young to remember it.
Okay. In January of 2001, from the police records, the case was reopened, assigned to homicide detective Tom Bocher, who said the girl. Oh, we've already seen that.
Yeah, we've already gone over that.
Okay, 2018, the two cars were pulled up at Benbrook Lake. My question, and other people that I've talked to, why this had to be a pretty credible lead. There was a lot of money involved buying these bladders you told us about, divers and such as that. How did y'all get the lead, or who got? You're the one that instigated the search, right? This wasn't a police deal. This was you, okay?
All right, you want to know about the dive?
Right.
Let me tell you the whole story about the dive.
Okay.
Okay, and why I did what I did when I did it.
Okay.
A girl came to me, and I believe I said this in the last show. I don't remember, but a girl came to me, and she told me that, there was a purple gremlin that Tommy was driving. And I talked to other girls that he had dated, and then two girls, as a matter of fact, that he had dated, and he did take them out on a date in the purple gremlin. So all of a sudden, we can't locate this purple gremlin. Well, a girl came to me and told me, Benbrook Lake's only 5 miles from his house, and we should check Benbrook Lake to see if that purple gremlin might be in the lake. Well, I called my friends at EcuSearch because I knew they had the technology to do this, and this is what they do, And I called Tim Miller himself, the founder of EcuSearch, and I said, Tim, I need a boat on the water down here that has the side screen sonar on it. And he goes, well, I got just the guy for you, Dennis Waters, who has since passed. But he was the best side screen sonar guy in the business. He was the best in the business. And he had, I'm told it was supplied by EcuSearch, or somebody had donated it to EcuSearch, the side screen sonar. He had the best side screen sonar in the business. And he agreed to come down at no cost and search Benbrook Lake for us, because it was exactly 5 miles from the house where Rachel lived. And we searched the lake, and within 20-30 minutes we found 3 cars in the lake. We found 3 cars, we found a boat, and we found a piece of heavy equipment that was there when the lake flooded while they were building it. So the boat was of no interest to us, but the cars were. So we got a hold of the police department. We told them that the cars were there, and they responded in writing to me, we're not interested in those cars, Rusty. We're just not interested in those cars. And I'm saying, okay, well, that gives me, in my head, permission to search the lake. So we got a hold of, divers from National Center for Missing Exploited Children, and they were supposed to send a diver down. That never happened. Somebody to go down and check on the cars. Well, we finally got some volunteers to go down and check on the cars, and actually they got sick from the dive because it was so deep, and then they found the cars. They went down on the cars and they marked them, but then they got sick on the way up, because of cramping and stuff, because of such a deep dive. So time went on, and then there was another guy that decided that he wanted to help us. He was a diver. So he formed a dive team. And on this dive team, we went out and we searched for the cars, and we found them. And we dove on them, and we pulled parts off of them to try to identify the cars. And none of them were a purple gremlin. Well, that led me to think, if we're not finding this purple gremlin, then those cars still need to come up. They still need to come up. It could be somebody else's loved ones. It could be anything. And we went, and they on their own, the dive team raised the money to buy all the airbags for to raise the cars. And we raised the cars after they raised all the money. And we found that the cars were not the cars we were looking for, and there was no bodies anywhere in the cars or around the cars. We took the cars, we got 2 of them up and out of the lake, and the third one we just couldn't get up. It was just too old. It'd been there too long, and when we tried to pull it up, it fell apart, and we just gave up. And we went back at a later date, and we checked the car again. They got inside under the hood, they got under the trunk, they got inside the car, and they searched the perimeter around the car for any body parts or anything of that nature, and they didn't find anything. So we cleared that car. But 2 of the cars that came out, we took them to an undisclosed location, and we physically, literally went through every square inch of both of those cars, one at a time. It must have took 75 5-gallon buckets of mud to get all the mud out of the car so we could search it and search for any evidence at all, and we found no evidence of anything.
What happened to those cars?
They were cut up and sold.
Oh, okay.
We did, in one of the cars, we did find a very suspicious bone, but it ended up being a bone from a fish.
Oh.
But that's it, and we had another team, I think it was Adventures with Purpose, came out because they were curious. And I'm telling you, Adventures with Purpose they searched every lake in the area, and they found a whole bunch of cars, but nothing associated with this case. But they went back and they did a secret search, and they put it online. They put it online, but they called it a secret search. They couldn't tell us what it was about or anything. They just put the search online, and they went down and they searched that third car again. And I called the guy running the organization. I said, "You're wasting your time. We've already done this. It's been done. It's been done multiple times." But they insisted, and they went out and they did it again and found nothing. There's nothing around that third car that is of interest to anybody. So that's pretty much the story
on the 3 cars.
On the 3 cars in Pembroke Lake.
What was the significance? You said both times I've interviewed you, it was exactly 5 point miles. What does 5 point miles mean? I mean, it could be 3.9 miles. What is the significance of the 5?
The girl that came forward and talked me into pursuing this, we went out to the lake, and we went to the boat ramp right there. I think it was Longhorn Park. We went to the boat ramp at Longhorn Park, and we drove from there to Rachel's house. and it was exactly 5.0 miles.
But I mean, there's
What?
no significance of that.
It's
though.
close.
Oh, it's close.
It's close.
Okay.
It's close to the house. It's the most convenient place to go to dump a car, and we're missing a purple gremlin. Javelin. I'm
Javelin.
sorry.
I was going to say.
Javelin, not a. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
It was Javelin the
a
other day.
javelin, a purple javelin.
And did that car was it ever found anywhere?
No, we never found it. I don't know what happened to that car, and that's what my interest was. You know, when the Fort Worth Police told me they're not interested in those cars, well, that gave me permission to go do what I wanted to do, and I did it.
Why did they tell you they weren't interested? They didn't think that.
They didn't think there was anything relevant to the case.
That's what a lot of my listeners, followers,
And
members
that's okay.
have said. What was so important? Okay, so over the years, I get accused of a lot of stuff. You've been accused of a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Somebody said, "What's the money deal on the car pull-ups?" Somebody said the divers work for free. Somebody said he didn't buy but one bladder. So go through if you want to.
There were 6 bladders that were bought, and it cost us $700. I think it was $750.
$50. That's what you told me last time.
And I didn't raise the money for that. They did. The dive team did.
Okay.
I started a GoFundMe account just to cover expenses, because all my life I've been paying all this money to do all these things. Well, then GoFundMe come out. I said, well, why not? Just let's look at it. And we did it, and I raised $5,000. And that money was spent, and I have every receipt showing where that money went. And I spent the last of that money about a month ago. This is something I haven't told you, but a girl came forward recently, and she told me, Rusty, this is getting close to the anniversary of when my father committed suicide, and when every time that comes around, I start looking at cold cases and stuff like that. And she goes, I ran across the missing trio, and I ran across the old age enhanced photographs, not the ones that are out now, but the old ones from missing and exploited children. And she looked at a picture of Rachel, and she told me this, and I'm going to quote exactly what she said, and it gave me chill bumps. She goes, I looked at that picture of Rachel in the age enhanced photograph, and I looked at my grandmother, and I think my grandmother is your sister. That kind of gave me chill bumps, and I'm going, and she's alive? She said, yeah, she's alive. And I said, send me pictures. And she sent me pictures, and the pictures weren't real convincing. But still, I had to pursue it. So I took the last of that GoFundMe money, which was $300, and I ordered a DNA test. And I was going to compare her grandmother's DNA to my DNA. So I got my test in the mail after I paid for this DNA test. And I had them, the DNA company, send the test directly to her, so I would never touch it.
Right.
So it would be completely out of my hands.
Right.
Well, she got her DNA test, and I guess at that point in time is when it got real for her. She sent me a text stating, I checked the timeline, and the timeline's off, so I don't think we need to do this.
She got cold feet.
She got cold feet. And I'm telling you, I sent her back a text saying, timeline or what? It don't matter.
You wanted to know.
We need to rule this out.
Yeah.
We need to turn this stone over. Come on, that could be my sister's. And she's in a home for the people that are losing their memory.
Yeah.
She's in a nursing home for people who have lost their memory. her grandmother, supposedly, according to her, my sister. She never texted me back. I never heard anything else from her. So, we got to keep going on here, because every time a lead like that comes in, I'm going to pursue it when the police will not do it, because they don't have time. They don't have the manpower.
Right.
I do.
Who is Gary Summers, one of our members? Who is Jeff Burns?
Jeff Burns was the head diver of the dive team.
Oh, okay. He said that he was a big help to that.
Jeff Burns, he was a big help to the dive, yes. I mean, he headed up the dive. It was his idea to approach me and offer his services.
Did anyone ever ask Tommy what happened to the purple car?
To my knowledge, no.
Do you know how to get a hold of Tommy?
No.
What city does he live in?
Don't know.
You don't know if it's Texas or whatever?
It's Texas.
Okay, so Gary or any of our 50-something people on one channel alone, if y'all know how to get a hold of Tommy, he's supposedly still alive, correct?
He is alive.
We need to try to do a phone interview with him.
Good luck there.
Apparently, Gary was at because he said it was neat to see the cars come out of the lake. Arnold's in, Raleigh's in. I'm trying to see questions that y'all. Was Tommy ever a suspect?
Tommy is a person of interest.
Now, this is to the police. They're asking. He was a person of interest to the police.
They've given him 2 polygraph tests.
He passed them.
Yes.
He was. How old were he and your sister when she got married and he got married to each other?
He was a few years older than her. I don't remember his exact age. I don't remember.
How old was Rachel?
17.
Okay.
16. She was 16 when they got married.
And Tommy had already been married once, right?
Yeah, to Shauna Trelisa. Everybody always mispronounces the Trelisa name. They call it Trelika. It's Trelisa.
Trelisa, good. Okay, this is something that the guy that helps Sam McNeese helps me build bikes, or he doesn't help me, he builds them. He worked for the post office his entire life, retired. So I told him one day when we was building bikes not too many weeks ago, I said, yeah, I'm going to have Rusty Arnold on. And he said, that stamp has DNA. And when I asked you about it 2 weeks ago, you said
stamp
there's...
does not have DNA.
Where is that letter at?
In the police custody.
They pulled the stamp off?
Yes.
Okay, so that answers that question.
There was DNA found. Wasn't on the stamp.
Where was the DNA
On
found?
the letter.
No match?
Not yet.
Everybody says hi, and
But there is DNA out there being compared right now.
so in your mind, this is the 50th anniversary. After this goes away, people are on to another deal. You know that. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Do you think that there's actually any remote possibility? I mean, is there ever been in your mind a solid suspect? Or, I mean, what's your opinion of it? And I mean, it's just your opinion because there's no facts about any of it. The only piece of evidence ever is the letter, correct?
The letter with the DNA on it.
Yeah, the letter with the DNA. There's never been supposedly a phone call to any of the families
Yes.
from one of the girls?
Okay. Back in the early days, I'm talking about right after it happened. Rayanne Mosley, who is Julie Mosley's mother, got a phone call. She answered the phone, and a girl says, "Mama?" She goes, "Julie, is that you?" The girl says, "Mama? Julianne Mosley, is that you? Is that you, Julie?" And then all of a sudden she heard a door open and behind the door there was loud music, and the phone hung up. That's the last anybody ever heard from what we think could have been one of the girls.
Your family never got a phone call?
No. We got fake phone calls.
The 9-year-old girl, that was Julie.
Yeah.
She's the one that she had called her mother, Rayanne, and begged to go, right?
Yes.
And at first the mother said, no, you can't go.
She said no, and Julie begged and begged and begged. I heard this story directly from Rayanne many times.
Has Rusty ever reached out to Crime Junkies podcast to get the story out? They have helped solve a few cases.
No. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah. Well, everybody naturally this time of year, especially being the 50th, some people would want to interview you. Here's my question: did the Fort Worth Police, whoever's handling this case, did they reach out to say, "Hey, Rusty, we think we might get a lead," or nobody? You hadn't heard from the police?
I haven't talked to the police in probably 3 years. They won't return my calls.
Was this ever on Unsolved Mysteries, Robert Stack?
With what?
It was called Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh.
It was...
John Walsh?
No, Robert Stack was the guy.
No. Not to my knowledge. It was on John Walsh's show.
It was?
It was on the website for a long time. The story was on the website.
So, back to your... my whole deal forever, there's no motive. I mean, it either has to be somebody's trying to get to one of those girls that knew those girls, but I mean, they're not holding them for ransom. There was never a ransom demand. And why would you, if you're a single person, why would you try to capture 3 girls that were
Acceptable
random?
collateral damage is what I say. It was rumored that Rachel was pregnant when she disappeared. And we know this because Rachel's best friend, Rachel, wrote her a letter because they lived in different cities so far apart. And it was Denise Doggett was her name. Rachel wrote her a letter saying that her husband put her up against the wall and was physically hitting her in the stomach, trying to make her lose that baby.
And Denise Doggett knew that how?
Rachel wrote her a letter
stating
that.
Did you ever get a copy of that letter?
I want to say yes, but it would take me a long time to go through all the archives to find it. That's the only motive that I can think of, that her husband had something to do with it. And by trying to make her lose that baby, he didn't want any more babies. And I personally, as a child, went over to spend weekends at Rachel's house after she got married to her husband. And I saw them fighting, not physically fighting, but arguing, and Rachel coming out and crying. And I remember as a child, me walking up to Rachel saying, "Are y'all going to get divorced?" And her saying no. So she wasn't happy in her marriage, from what I could tell.
One of our members, Catherine, said, "Do you still think, or did you ever think, Deborah is the one who wrote the letter to Tommy?"
That it had crossed my mind. We did look into it. But, as I told you last time, we took a copy of that letter and samples of Rachel's husband's handwriting, and we had 4 good pages of handwriting from 1972. Somebody come in and gave us a copy of 4 letters that had been written to her in Tommy's handwriting. So she provided Tommy's good handwriting sample from 1972. And we took that, and we took a copy of the letter, and we sent it off to a handwriting analysis expert, one who said she will testify in a court of law. that it was Tommy's handwriting.
On the police blotter, it says there were several handwriting experts nationwide. So I don't know.
Well, the one that we used, there's where more of that GoFundMe money went. It was, I think it was $400 or $500 to have the analysis done, but she come back 100% that was Tommy's handwriting on that letter. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just telling you what the experts said. And they said that that was 100% conclusive that that was Tommy's handwriting. But we took it to the DA, and we took the findings to the DA, the assistant DA. And what he told me was, Rusty, handwriting analysis is junk science. In other words, they just blew it off.
Is that the reason you and Deborah became estranged?
No.
No? Do you want to go into that part of the story? Like I say, you don't have to. I know this is heartbreaking for you. We can move on and think about that. Elaine says, still confused about the three girls supposedly seen in the little truck with the security guard. Now, I want to add something first. 2 weeks ago when I interviewed you, you said that the cop that turned security guard, that was who?
Bill Hutchins.
Bill Hutchins, yeah. You said that he was patrolling the outside of the parking area.
He was out marking off the area, roping it off for, I think, the employee parking or something.
And he saw the little security truck that's a one-seater with his security guy that worked for him and the three girls. And he said he put his elbow up on the window opening and said, "What the F are you doing here?" I don't understand if he's any kind of anybody. Those little trucks, when he's walking up, he sees the three girls. And then he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, girls." And you said that they said, "Oh, we hear that all the time," or something to that
I
effect.
have Bill Hutchins' story on a news broadcast, telling the story on Channel 5, I think. We have all that. We have that proof of him saying that. And all I'm saying is this was what his story was.
Right.
And I talked to another gentleman that worked with him and knew him very well. And he said, if Bill Hutchins' mouth is moving, he's lying. So that kind of hurt the credibility of Bill Hutchins.
Whatever happened to that other security guard? Was he ever interviewed by the police?
I don't think so.
And he was.
I don't remember his name.
But supposedly the three girls, this Bill Hutchins, said he saw them.
He did. He said he saw
Or
them.
he doesn't know if it was the same three girls. Maybe it was another three girls.
I don't know. What are the odds on
Yeah.
the same day? What are the odds? But we found that security guard. We found where he lived. We went to the house. It's in Haltom City. We went to the house and we talked to the neighbors. And one of the neighbors said that there was a lot of suspicious activity going when those girls disappeared. In his backyard, there was digging, and then all of a sudden a foundation poured and a shed built. And we went and checked. We could never get the homeowners to talk to us. We could never get the opportunity to get the ground penetrating radar back there to do that, to look under that fountain, because the ground penetrating radar will go through the concrete. It will tell us if there's any anomalies under there, and we never. That's a stone that's not unturned. That's a stone that's not unturned, and it's going to be one of these things I'm going to have to live with, because it will never happen now.
Okay, so here's another question that's been sent to me all week. Why is Rusty the only person you're interviewing? I tried to get your sister, and we asked about Terry, and Terry apparently is moving on. He's tired of the circus activity.
I got nothing but the utmost respect for Terry Mosley.
Right.
And his sister. I have no differences with them. We're fine as far as I'm concerned. They may disagree with some things that I'm doing, but I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's going to be the way it is. I called Terry Mosley and left him messages to see if he wanted to come over here and do this with me. And other than that, I got nobody else to call because the Wilson family, they're completely private, and I respect that with all my heart.
She was 14, right?
Yes, Renee was 14. But you know, Richard, the father, died last year, and he was the one that was so hell bent with me, working together with me to try to get this thing solved before he died. Well, he died not knowing, and that's one of the saddest things ever for me, because I lost a father figure in my life. You know, my father died when I was 11, and Richard was a father figure to me, and he did everything he could to try to solve this case with me, and we could never get it done. But the Wilson family, they're staying very, very private, and I respect that. I respect that.
Sure.
And I tried to call Terry to get him to come do this with me. He didn't call me back. Okay, I respect that. I have no remorse.
Okay, so as you know, over the years, I've known you a long time. There was a lady that was on our group that is now deceased. Val, and we don't need to say her last name. She was a caseworker for either Fort Worth or Tarrant County, and she told me, and I've got the messages on my phone,
I remember this.
That she had been out to y'all's house, CPS, more than like it was a monthly deal or every other week or whatever. So she said there was something to do with your father's involvement. If you don't want to go into that, your father's
I don't have
gone.
a problem with going into that. I don't remember anything about CPS ever being involved with my family.
Well, she wasn't really. She was a caseworker because I asked her. She at first started texting me, and then we talked on the phone, and I said, if there was some irregularity going on at that house with the father and the daughter, why didn't you call CPS, or why didn't you remove the child? And she said, I just never called CPS. So apparently she, being a caseworker, was not CPS. And so I don't know why she was at the house.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember, did your parents argue a lot back when you were young?
My dad was mean.
Yeah.
My dad was mean to the core. I remember seeing him with a switch spanking my sister Deborah with a switch until her legs bled.
Mm.
And I remember that as a child. My dad was mean. I remember my dad. We were sitting at we had a bird named Mike sitting at the end of our table, a minor bird, and I remember my dad getting. It was just like a table like this right here, like he was sitting right here, and he got so mad at my mother one time. We were sitting at the table having dinner. He took that table and slammed it right up against that bird cage. Food everywhere. My dad was mean.
Okay.
To everybody but me, because I was his pride and joy. And I'm going to get into something right here, Larry. My sister Deborah ran away when she was 14 years old, and when she came back, she was pregnant.
Okay.
And she had the child, and my dad insisted that she put that child up for adoption. Well, she did. And 19 years later, she grew a conscience and wanted to go find that child. She found her. She went and met with her in another state, Virginia, I think. And lo and behold, that child, 19 years old, came back and lived with her. She accepted her real biological mother and came back and lived with her. She was 9 months pregnant when she did. Later, years went on, And we got to thinking about all the stories in the past and everything that's been going on. We started thinking maybe that child was my father's child, and there was incest going on. So that's what started me from distancing myself from my sister. That's where it came in. And well, we thought that why not get a DNA test done to see? So that child and I got together and we did a DNA test. And it came back that she was my half sister. Come on, man. The DNA said that. But then somebody challenged the DNA a year later. I'm going around thinking that I got a new sister, a half sister, and a niece. And we hit it off for a while, for about a year or so, thinking that we were half brother and sister. Come to find out, somebody challenged that DNA. And they said, no, it only says that you're the uncle, not the half brother. And I said, no, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. So we had to get another DNA test done to prove it. And this is where it gets crazy. Hold all those questions. This is where it gets crazy. The only way I could think of, at this time, to get DNA would be get it from my father. He's dead. Been buried 40 years. So I get my mother and I go to my lawyer's office with my mother and we get written consent in writing in front of a lawyer, all legal, to excavate my father's grave. And we did. And when we did, I went with Dana Austin from the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's office. She went with us. And when we got there, they already had the grave dug, the lid took off, the concrete lid took off the casket. And when we got there, she jumped right down in that grave and she pulled out my father's femur. We took that back to one of the buildings on the property, and she got a Dremel tool and she cut a chunk of the bone out about like that off the femur. And it comes to find out, we send that off to the lab because we think we got the DNA we need, and it came back that there was no DNA to be found in the bone because it had been soaking in water for years and years and years, and the DNA was just gone. So we couldn't get the DNA. But several years later, my father's brother died, Thomas Kelly Arnold. And when I went up there to the funeral, I got a DNA test. I took it with me. I got permission from the family to get a DNA sample for my father's brother. And we got a really good sample. We went up in the nose with a swab, and we actually got blood. So we got great samples. And we put those in an envelope. We sent them to the lab, and it came back that my father did not molest my sister. The child was not my half sister. She was my niece. After that came in, I went to my sister and we sat down, me and my mother and my sister, at the Cracker Barrel, and I apologized to my sister. After 20 years of not talking, after 20 years, I lost 20 years with my living sister because of that.
Do you know a lady named Amanda?
I do.
I don't want to say all the stuff she's saying.
I know what she's saying.
She said, Rusty needs to tell the truth, stop going round and round. But in an earlier statement, she says, Rusty is the only one that's publicly tried for help. Rusty Arnold's father, not the sister, had nothing to do with it. And she said, Rusty has gone through hell trying to figure out. She said the police need to listen. There's 2 living individuals that have answers. Who's she talking about?
I can't say.
I'm guessing your mom.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
So there's 2 living people that know something.
Her father.
Her father. How is she related to you?
She's not.
How is her father involved in it?
This is some pretty deep stuff, Larry.
Is her father still alive?
Yes.
Maybe we don't want to go into that.
If I tell
If
that
it's not
story,
facts-
then their lives are at risk.
Their lives are at risk?
If I tell that story, their lives are at risk.
Okay, let's cancel Christmas there. You can tell me off the air. Curious, why is Deborah not present? She was supposed to be there.
Deborah's going through some really hard times right now. Was that text you or me? I thought I turned mine off.
It's me.
Okay, I turned mine off. Deborah's not here because she's going through some really hard times right now. Every year around this time, it is really hard on her. And I understand that. And I was aggravated at first when she said she wasn't coming on. But then I told her, I said, that's going to raise all kind of suspicion. That's going to, the naysayers are going to really harp on this. But that's what I could say is she's going through a lot of really hard times right now, and she just didn't feel like making a public appearance.
Okay, here's another person that I know. We've talked about her. You're not her favorite person. Why did you refuse to
Who is
give
this?
Kelly? Why did you refuse to give Maggie and the rest of the family the DNA results once it proved he was not the father?
I don't want to, and I don't have to answer that question.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to answer any of them. Susan Reynolds, do you know her? Just because the child was not the father's does not mean the father wasn't molesting the sister or sisters. Does Deborah deny that ever happened?
Deborah does deny it ever happening. She says, my father never touched me. The DNA doesn't show that he ever touched her. Therefore, there's no evidence. There's no proof. All there is what Deborah's telling us. And she swears to me that my father never touched her.
And he's dead and buried.
And
so
he's
we
dead
don't
and
need
buried,
to,
so we can't ask him.
we don't need to
He's been dead
step on a
50
person
years.
when they're down. Amanda, can you elaborate, since it's obvious we won't be getting anywhere? I don't know what they're talking about there. That's from Ashley. If it was your niece, who was her parents? They're talking about
Her parent was Deborah, my sister, and Deborah claims to have been raped.
But not by your father.
Not by my father. She says that she was in Marshall, Texas, young, pretty, and some of the kids in the neighborhood where she was staying with my grandmother, they all like to sneak out and go to the local motel after it closed and go sneak off and go swimming in the swimming pool. Well, she says that some guy picked her up in a van and took her and raped her, and that's where Maggie came from.
Okay. Here's another one from Kelly. Also, my grandfather had been emboldened, so there was no blood. Embalmed.
No, there was blood. Absolutely, There was blood. She's dead wrong.
And she says, and after all of that, you put that shit in a Texas Monthly article. I didn't know there was a Texas Monthly
Yeah,
article.
there was.
Was there? And you gave my father your word you would not publicize that about my grandfather, but you kept answers from the family members. You keep answers from the family members.
Why am I having a conversation with Kelly?
You don't have to answer any of them.
Ignore her.
Okay.
Ignore
We'll
her.
ignore her.
She's irrelevant.
Now, Amanda, on one article, is on your side, then on the next one, she's kind of against you. But she said you've gone through hell, which we all know. So, you said you can't really say who the two people were. You said one of them was her father, and then there's another person that no answers. What are they, just off the top of your head, what are they referencing on
Well, the police
answers?
were extremely involved with that.
Okay.
Tom Bocher was extremely involved with that. That's a. I think that story. I think that's the truth about what happened to the girls.
Explain.
God, it's hard to explain. I mean, it's not hard to explain, but it's hard to put it out there for everybody to see.
So you're saying you think it's family related? Even distant family, but
No, not family related. Well, I think it could be Tommy related. He's not blood, but he was married to
I've
Rachel.
always wondered why was he not kind of a prime suspect?
Person of interest.
Were he and Rachel living together at the
Yes,
time?
Yes,
Well, why wasn't he all over this case? Why isn't he out there talking?
exactly. Exactly. He divorced Rachel and married 3 times after her.
He was married before her, and then married her, then married 3 more times? 5 marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people, we need to find Tommy. Any of y'all that are familiar with it?
The police know where Tommy is. Richard Wilson knew where Tommy was. He told me. I never wrote it down. I didn't care. But they know where Tommy's at, and he's living life large. He's doing good.
Catherine says, do you think the girls ever actually entered the mall?
Yes.
Yeah, they did, because
Absolutely.
they talked
Yes.
to people that saw them in the
Yes.
mall. But now another thing, some podcasts, some things, this is all over the place. They say, well, they had to have gone back to the car because they put a package in the car. That's wrong. The package was already in the car. You stated that 2 weeks ago.
From what I understand.
Somebody's mother or grandmother gave one of the girls a present,
To give
and
to
then
Sean.
the bell-bottom jeans that she got. Come on in, Ike. Have a seat.
Hey, how you doing?
Just fine. The bell-bottom jeans that she got at Army Navy. Be careful of that Christmas tree.
Be careful with that guitar.
The bell-bottom jeans she got at that Army Navy on layaway, they were in the trunk. So, to anybody's knowledge, there's no record that these girls went back to the car.
We kind of got interrupted. Start that question over. I'm sorry.
Okay, so some websites and some people say the girls had to have gone back to the car from shopping at the mall because there was a package in the back seat, and then later they discovered the blue jeans that she picked up from Army Navy that were on layaway. But that package was already in the car, so
That's my
there's no
understanding.
proof.
I have a picture of the package in the back of that car.
So there's no proof that they ever went back to the car.
No.
But there is proof They talked to plenty of people that
The
saw
Hip
him
Hop
in
and
the
Bell
mall.
Brothers jeans, those were bought at Army Navy before they went to the mall. That's why they were evidently in the trunk.
Right.
Um,
They had been on layaway. I
Yeah.
actually talked to a person that was involved in the sale.
we talked to the manager of the store
Yeah,
back then.
yeah. I
And-
talked to somebody 20 years ago or however long ago. They were still married. No, he did not. So, didn't Amanda take all that information she had to the police?
Yes,
Do you know Gary Summers?
he's my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say he's certainly knowledgeable about it.
Well, that's because he's my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
I'm Rusty.
Ike, I-K-E.
Ike.
Russ?
Rusty.
He divorced Rachel before she went missing.
No. What?
It says, "Hey, divorced Rachel before she went missing." Brittany, Brittany is one of our members in New Jersey. She must have that information wrong.
Tommy divorced Rachel years later. They wouldn't grant him the divorce. We wouldn't pull the divorce decree, and it said it was not finalized because Rachel wasn't here or something of that nature. No, he divorced her later. And I think that I could prove this that he got married to somebody else before he actually got divorced from Rachel because they wouldn't grant the divorce. He divorced her on the grounds of abandonment or something. But later they did finally grant the divorce.
I was involved in a case that in my family that after the person's missing for I think 7 years, you can legally have them declared dead.
Yes.
Did y'all do that with your sister?
No, we didn't, but Renee's parents did that with her, and they got some kind of $2,000 life insurance settlement or something like that. But no, they waited the 7 years, and then they called them missing. I mean, they declared
Pronounced
dead.
her dead. Yeah,
Yeah,
declared her dead.
Julie's parents never did it. My parents never did it. Of course, my father was dead.
Where's the car that they took, that they were driving?
The Oldsmobile?
Yeah.
Tommy took that car home, and I think to this day that car is in Throckmorton, Texas, where Tommy moved to directly after the disappearance.
Okay, Regina, last time you spoke about a postman who was potentially involved. Could you expand on that? Do you think that could explain the hand-canceled postmark and the fast delivery?
Well, that's a very good question, and I have no way of proving that. Our handwriting analysis expert said that her handwriting was not the same as the handwriting in the letter. Okay, that girl that came forward to me recently, and my daughter said it was a year ago. I thought it was just several weeks ago. That's how time's flying by. But my daughter said it was a year ago. But no, I can't prove any of that.
The letter, the envelope was written in pencil,
Okay, I don't know which is which, but one was written in pen, one was written in pencil.
but they spelled Rachel's name and misspelled it.
On
so
the envelope, they wrote, no, it wasn't the envelope, it was the letter. They wrote Rachee. And
Instead
that
of-
last E, they went over the E and then made it an L. And you could see clearly, and it's out there, it's online.
Yeah.
You could see clearly that mistake. And, you know, if it's Rachel, how the hell
do you
is she going
misspell
to
it?
misspell her own damn name?
And she writes the letter to Thomas instead of Tommy.
Thomas instead of Tommy. And that handwriting on the envelope and the letter, my sister, Deborah, she found the old Bible that was given to my parents by Tommy and Rachel, and it had Tommy's signature in it, and it was spot on. I mean, to the...
So that's what they use for comparison.
No,
Oh.
that's not what they use, but I could show you, and it's spot on. But that doesn't prove he did it.
did someone work at a shop or something with an incinerator that was related to one of the girls?
No. Car crusher? Yes.
A person that worked at a wrecking yard?
They had a portable car crusher. They only had one in Fort Worth, from my understanding, and it went around to the different wrecking yards crushing cars so they could go ahead and sell for smelting, for recycle.
Right.
And to me, that's the perfect way to get rid of a body, is put it in a car and have it crushed and take it to the incinerator and melt it. That's the perfect way to get rid of a body, and that's the angle that we were looking at. The guy that we think did this is dead.
We're up to 270. We're up to 320 people that are online with us right now. Okay, so let's see. I know the pain of losing these girls so much. Still can't believe the police or anybody have not found anything. There's only one piece of evidence: the letter.
The letter with the DNA on it.
Elaine says, when this happened, I seem to remember a news broadcast about the girls seen in a white van. I've heard about that white van before. What's that?
There was a guy in the parking lot, and this van pulls up behind him, and my mother tells this story because she believes it 100%. And he was sitting here in his truck, and a girl comes running out of that van, and she runs over to him, and she's screaming, help me, help me, help me. And he rolls out of the window, he's talking to her, and all of a sudden a Mexican guy comes out, and they say Mexican. The Mexican guy comes out of the van and gets her and grabs her, saying, "Stay out of my business, this is my wife," and he pushes her back in the van. At the same time, there's another girl getting out of the van trying to run, and another Mexican guy grabs her. That's stories we've been told. And you'll see that tomorrow there's going to be another release from another company that DailyMail.com. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I've dealt with
they
them.
did a huge story on us, and it's going to air tomorrow. And it talks about, it's interviewing my mother, and she tells the story about that van and about what happened. So I'd rather everybody hear it from my mother instead of me, because she's the one that lived it.
Being the 50th anniversary since they disappeared, do you know if the Fort Worth Police are going to make a statement?
I haven't communicated with the police in 3 years. I have no clue what they're doing. I don't know. I just can't give you an answer there because I just don't know.
Well, like I said at the onstart of the interview, a very good friend of mine that was a retired police officer, and he looked up this information from the Fort Worth PD almost immediately. He said within a few days their case was handed off to the Youth Division, Fort Worth PD Missing Persons Bureau.
Runaways.
Yeah, they counted it as a runaway.
For the first year. How does a 9-year-old girl run away for a year? Come on, man. Wake up.
Because she was with two of her friends that were 14 and 17.
How does a 14-year-old run away for a year?
Uh,
I can see a married 17-year-old trying to get away from her husband or something.
But the problem I have, or not a problem, but this was in 74 when they put it to runaways. And then the case, from all I can find, it was 2001 before the case was reopened and assigned to the Homicide Division. And you said that, what's his name?
John Swaim.
John Swaim had that done.
After a year, he had it put in major cases. I did not say homicide. Major cases.
Now, is John Swaim the private detective that committed suicide?
I'm going to say this in front of your audience. I believe he was murdered.
They said it was a drug overdose.
Gosh.
And to me, He left instructions in his will to burn
to
all of his
burn
files.
all of his stuff because he had so much information on so many political figures that he didn't want to ruin their lives if somebody got into his stuff. So he ordered all his stuff burned, and that means all the information he had on our case too. That's his wife's talking, and his wife's the one that did it.
I would think that
It just came up right after John's death.
when did he die?
He married John's partner, Gary. I don't remember his last name.
Who married him?
John's wife.
Oh,
Married John's partner. Right after he died. Right after he died.
how long after? When did he die?
Oh, God. We're 75, 76,
So not too long. When did y'all hire him?
75,
How old were you in '75?
11.
They've got DNA off the stamp. There's
No, there's no DNA on the stamp.
Or they got DNA,
DNA
off
off
the
the
letter, but there's no match yet.
Not yet. We got some in the works. We're hoping some of this new technology will come through for us.
Yeah, 50 years. I mean, was the FBI ever involved?
Not to my knowledge. There was no proof of them being taken over state line. From what I understand, the FBI can't get involved unless they've proven they've been taken over state lines.
Okay, here's Russell Grant Jen. I'm Russ Jen. I'm a childhood friend of Terry Mosley and a private eye for 35 years. Thank you for remembering them. Okay.
You're very welcome.
Russell Jen, do you have any information that 50 years has gone by and there's nothing? Has Tommy submitted DNA?
No, yeah, I think so. I think the police got it.
Tina Marie, we have offered our DNA, which is in the police database, for whatever they need. Who's Tina Marie?
Amanda's sister.
Now, who's Amanda? I forgot.
You talked to me about Amanda a while ago.
Amanda is related to which girl?
Tina Marie.
No, which one of the three girls?
No relation.
Well, how do they have anything to do with it?
Because our person of interest is their father.
Oh, okay. Who owned the wrecking yard?
Billy Simpson.
Was it on Elliott Reader Road?
It was on Mansfield Highway.
So, oh yeah, one of those.
Lone Star Foreign Car Salvage.
There was two areas for wrecking yards: Mansfield Highway and Elliott Reader Road.
Yeah, and they're both in the same area. There was a lot of suspicion and a lot of things going on Mansfield Highway back then. And we're talking about organized crime.
You know Elizabeth Larson?
I do.
I grew up with this family. I grew up friends with Rusty's daughter. I've seen the pain that they went through, and if anyone knows any info that could close this case, please come forward.
Thank you, Tia. This was very special. Thank you.
Is it not odd that case files were destroyed? I had that same. Seemed like
For the private investigator?
Yeah, it seemed that's his files, but if it's pertinent to that case, it seems like somebody go to a judge and say, "You can't destroy that." Hell, a judge can tell people to do whatever.
What I've said about the files being destroyed and burnt,
Yeah,
I don't know much more than that about when they were done or who made the decision. I just know I've been told my whole life that his orders were to destroy the files because there were so many corrupt people in Fort Worth that he had information on. He didn't want to destroy that many lives. And that's, about the extent of it. We paid John Swain $500, and that's all the money he ever got. Back then that was a whole lot of money.
yeah, 48 years ago.
50 years ago. Yeah, 48 years ago.
So the other security guard that was in the little truck with the three girls, nobody ever got his name, if he's still alive, if he's...
We just went over this. I went to his house. I found his house. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. That's all. I would say it, but I just don't remember.
Okay, but do you think he's still alive, or you don't
No,
know?
he's dead.
Oh,
I've
he's
talked
dead.
to his wife. His wife took us to the house.
Oh, okay.
We went back there and looked, and
That's where they're doing the...
that's where the shed was.
Yeah.
Where the concrete was poured, and we couldn't get the homeowners to talk to us. We couldn't get permission to get on the property
Yeah.
to search. And even where we wanted to search, there was a pile of stones that was 4 or 5 feet high. I mean, we would have had to have a whole team to go over there, and we're losing our ground penetrating radar connection. And I believe they're going to be gone forever. We won't have them back. So, this thing is coming to an end with no conclusion. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
No, it makes sense. 50 years, they're going to close the books. On the police website, it says there is a $50,000 reward. Is that besides your $50,000, or is that the $50,000?
That is the $50,000. And I'm very surprised and impressed that they did that. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, it's on the. I spent.
I'm
hours
very
this
surprised
morning.
and impressed.
Yeah.
I have a picture of me holding the $50,000 like this in my hands. It's real. It's there.
Where's that money at now?
It,
I mean, it's got to be put up somewhere if you put a reward
it's,
up.
it's there. I'm just telling you it's there. I'm not going to divulge that information,
Yeah.
because people's lives could be at risk. I'm not risking
And
people's
also
lives.
the people that whoever put the $50,000 up, they got to be close to death, or they had to be an adult when it happened, 20s. So now they're in their 70s. No.
Far from death. Vibrant with young life.
So was the $50,000 put up immediately, or this is much later?
This is last year.
Oh, okay. I thought the way it said on the police blotter is it's like it was instantly, or
No.
okay. So bottom
And
line,
if it is, that's something I don't know about.
bottom line, you and I have known each other for many years. I think I asked you 8 or 9 years ago what your thought was, and I don't remember what you told me. We were at one of our birthday parties at Burgers Lake, weren't we? What is your gut feeling? What do you think happened? And you're just a kid. You're 6 years old at the time?
11.
11? So you don't have a clue what was going on. 11-year-olds.
Well, at 11 years old, my mother had me going through creeks by the house.
Right.
Had me searching, so I've been searching and looking into this since I was 11. But what I think happened, I'm not at liberty to say. Off camera, maybe.
Yeah, we can do that. So you brought your guitar back with you. You want to do another song? Cause
I
we're
brought
running
Rachel
out of...
back with me.
Okay, get set up and we'll turn the camera to you. Are you going to do it right here? Or do I need to move this
I can
camera?
do it right here.
I can move. We don't need to have this one on anyway.
You said you had a Martin?
OM23.
This
So
is
that's yours? How old is that?
it's brand new.
Oh, you just bought it?
Yeah.
Just bought it? Really? I mean, is it real brand new? Like brand new?
Okay, let's see.
I brought Rachel back with me.
There's Rusty.
It only took me 50 years, but I got Rachel back with me.
There's probably a lot of...
Oh, what? Oh, right there, Rachel. Yeah. Huh. That looks like it doesn't look like it's. Well, I guess it's real soft. Yeah, it's real soft in there.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
All right. You know who you are, and you know what you did, and we're not going away. I wrote this song to the person or persons who did this, and whoever it offends, well, I don't give a damn. So, this song's called In the End. You know who you are, what you did. Let me start this over. You know in your heart just what you did. Living with a view that you just can't read. Every day's a new day. Everyone but you. I can't hear what you say. You just wish your trip was through. But in the end, you didn't get away with it. But in the end, you didn't get away with it. You can hide your secrets from us all. Live with your conscience, I stand tall. You live your life your way, while the guilt drives you insane. Never find that rainbow, and you'll never stop the rain. But in the end, you really didn't get away with it. But in the end, forever, how about you? Temporary pleasure's best you can do. You can clear your conscience, stop playing all your games. You can live forever when you sacrifice your pain. But in the end, in the end, you really didn't get away with it.
That's a pretty good song.
Thank you. No matter, you know, I'm going to say it again. You know who you are. You know what you did. And we're not going away. So, $50,000 is on the table for anybody that can come forward and tell us what happened to these girls and get a conviction and bring the bodies home. $50,000. Let's do this, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, boys and girls, so that wraps up our second and last interview with Rusty, unless he calls me at some point and says he's got something new to give us. I do believe there's somebody out there that knows something. It was a good interview, Rusty. I know in 2 more days it'll be rough on you. It'll be the exact 50th anniversary. The 3 girls missing from Seminary South, and it was worldwide. I remember. There's been a lot of stuff, but still, there's only one clue: the envelope and the letter. There's nobody else. There's people have got theories, but there's
some girls that have come forward recently that I'm talking to, and it's real good stuff. It's real good stuff. And they have told me they're not interested in the reward. They just want to see justice for the families.
so.
And they seem very credible.
So they're elderly, right?
No, they're not.
Because anybody that has firsthand
They're
information.
children of our person of interest.
Oh, I was going to say anybody that says they have firsthand information of the date, it happened in 1974, December 23rd. 50 years ago, Monday.
50 years ago Monday.
Long time. You'll keep us informed? If there's anything that
I'm
breaks
thinking,
that you can talk about?
In the near future, there's a possibility that I may be calling you ready to do another show.
Now, there's some movement. I talked to some people yesterday. There's some movement to get more resources to the cold case unit.
Yes.
And I know that firsthand because I've been asked to not stir the pot, so to speak, because they're working on stuff. We got a new police chief that's going to be coming on, and they're going
Has
to
it been
try.
chosen yet?
I don't know if they have or not, but there's going to be there with one person over 1,000 cases. All that person can do is answer the phone. There's no investigation, but there's going to be some more resources, from what I've been told. To and a case like this, it always adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah. I think that if the police would pursue it, and I believe they're going to, I really do. I think if they would pursue it more aggressively, the answers are there. The answers are there. The answers have been given to them.
See, and I don't have a clue what you're referring to, because I
That
don't
could
see
be
that
the-
there.
That could be the next meeting of us.
Yeah, I don't see. There's no motive. I mean, they didn't kidnap these girls for money. Human trafficking, maybe. I still say it has
There was
to
a
be.
lot of that going on Mansfield Highway back then.
But in the '60s, not as much as today. Not here in Fort Worth. If you're close to a border, there's probably.
There was a lot going on in 1974 on Mansfield Highway.
I used to run up and down Mansfield Highway. I know.
Organized crime,
Yeah. Well,
trafficking.
uh,
That was definitely happening back then. And definitely, I think the girls were involved with that.
and my main deal is a 9-year-old, 14-year-old, and a 17-year-old. Back in those days, you grew up in that era.
Yeah.
Those girls were as tough as us kids, us guys. They'd strap it on with you. So
And
if
Renee
you
was
didn't know them,
Renee was a fighter.
if you tried to gather them up, that one of them's going to get away. So that I think it's somebody they knew. I think it had to be somebody they knew. Somebody pulls up and says, "Hey, your mom's had a wreck. Your brother's had a wreck. Get in the car. We're going to go to the hospital," and go do them in. I don't think they ever left Tarrant County.
I don't either.
I think they're buried somewhere here. But
I think you're right.
anyway, Rusty, it's always a pleasure, brother. And I will see y'all. So we were on your platform, 6 of mine on Facebook and YouTube worldwide. So hope y'all enjoyed the show.